Since Roman times, Europe has had competition law. It's not a new creation. It's been around since at least 50 BC. To protect the grain trade, the Romans introduced Lex Julia de Annona, imposing heavy fines on anyone directly and deliberately stopping supply ships. In the 6th century, Justinian I authorized officials to be paid for managing state monopolies. In legal terms, it's what you might call innovation. The law doesn't stand still, so when we look at the digital age, the speed of change, the creation of new technologies, we should ask, is Europe's competition law fit for purpose?
We have adopted a statement of objection to Google. It outlines our preliminary view that Google's favorable treatment of its comparison shopping service, you probably know it as Google Shopping, is an abuse of Google's dominant position in general search.
How do you see Google's market position? Is it abusing it?
In the United States, only have 2/3 of the market. In the last years in Europe, it has reached between 90 and 95% in different member states, in different European countries. So it is a de facto monopoly, a gatekeeper in Europe.
This is about consumers. This is about consumers getting the best possible results of their query to enable choice. And this is for businesses to be able to present their innovative products to consumers.
Google's spam filters weren't much use when the European Commission sent a statement of objections to the American tech giant, outlining the Commission's preliminary view that Google is abusing a dominant position in breach of EU competition rules. The Commission will now investigate whether Google has been systematically favouring its own comparison shopping product in its general search results pages within the European Economic Area.
We believe that by the way it's being manipulating, or at least presumed to manipulate the search engine market, it stops companies that are innovative to be known and to be able to market and sell their services. That's the problem.
Google is at one hand, as the pioneer, has been long been in a place to drive innovation. However, at a certain point, it might even be a break on innovation because other companies have not access to certain data, cannot improve their search engine.
Of course, the big data cake grows every day for Google, because this is a virtuous circle for Google, in which the more visits they have, the more publicity they get, so the less space there is for rivals.
Do consumers really believe that Google is the only way to shop online? Is there really a sense of trust in a single search engine? If we allow consumers to smoke themselves to death with cigarettes and all we do is put a label on the packet, do we need more than a notice on Google's site which says, "Let the buyer beware"?
Our preliminary view in the statement of objection is that in its general internet search result, Google artificially favors its own comparison shopping service, and that this constitutes an abuse. Google should treat its own comparison shopping service the same way in its general search results as its rivals.
What do you expect Google to do next?
Complain. I read their blog, which is quite, would I say, emotional, and also not really taking on the real points about competition law. We believe that competition rules should be respected by any company in the world, also if they are from the United States, wherever they are from. And so, of course, we can consider it normal in terms of public relations that Google is now complaining, but now I would say they have 10 weeks to react. I would really recommend, if I can, that they come up now with acceptable proposals in order to stop the manipulating behavior that they have in the search engine market.
Responding to the Commission, Amit Singhal, Senior Vice President, Google Search, said, "Any economist would say that you typically do not see a ton of innovation, new entrants or investment in sectors where competition is stagnating or dominated by one player. Yet that is exactly what's happening in our world." Singhal added, "We're seeing innovation in voice search and the rise of search assistants, with even more to come. It's why we respectfully but strongly disagree with the need to issue a statement of objections.
Now Google knows that at the end of the process, there could be a fine, a huge fine, 10% of the revenue for every year in which this procedure has been taken place, and we are now in the 5th year.
We were positively surprised by the fact that there is at last a statement of objection, because it took so long. We were a little bit disappointed because we did not expect it, that the statement of objections is limited to Google Shopping, because we think that there are more problems with the Google tactics on the search engine markets than just Google Shopping. However, it has been announced that there would be continuous investigation into the other services, and we hope that that will be done in such a, let's say, stringent and proactive and assertive way as for Google Shopping.
We will look into Google's allegedly requiring or incentivizing smartphone and tablet manufacturers to exclusively pre-install Google's own application or services, in particular Google's search engine.
Defining market abuse in the digital market isn't so easy. 20 years ago, competition law was essentially an analysis of whether products or services were substitutes or complements. Basically, if products involved substitutes, then price fixing or competition breaches were more likely. The problem for the Commission today is that defining Google's actions in terms of substitutes or complements is going to be tricky. Google services may be a substitute or a complement, such as the integrated and flexible nature of many digital market products. 90% market share does not have the same meaning in today's digital markets as it did for a steel company 20 years ago. But can Google afford to simply ignore the Commission, taking advantage of the long legal process and ultimately just pay a fine? Do you think Google's playing for time and they'll continue to do so?
Well, what I see is that it takes much too long to make Google behave properly, because the search engine system is not running well. So we need, as consumers, neutral, objective information, and for the moment this is not being the case because Google manipulates the search results.
If there is no agreement between Commission and Google, then we will have to go further steps. That is really clear. I hope we don't have to do so because it's not the best way to do, but if it is necessary, we will do it.
I think that without Google goodwill, there will be no fair solution, because only Google has the know-how and the knowledge and the formula of the algorithm. Or maybe there will be the need to have a regulatory body in which the Commission could establish the principle of non-discrimination access.
Does DG Competition really have the manpower to go head-to-head with Google's army of lawyers?
If you look at the staff that is being assigned to these cases, also in the case of tax dodging and other areas where the Department of Commissioner Ms. Vestager is involved, this is a very small team, and they are fighting against a big corporate giant like Google. So we really need to improve also the human resources of these departments, and 5 years is very much too long.
The DG Competition is maybe one of the best DG that we have in the European Commission. It has a long experience in many cases. In the Microsoft case, they did a good job, and now Microsoft cooperates very well with the DG Competition. So let's hope that now they will do a good job again.
How does the Google investigation affect relations between the United States and Europe?
I don't think it affects the negotiations at all, in the sense that I actually don't think that Americans feel that they're being beat up on, or that the American negotiators are spending time doing that. I think our negotiators on both sides are looking at what are the opportunities that we can create for our companies? What are the opportunities for growth that will allow our companies to employ more people, that will allow some of the creativity that US companies see when they invest here in Europe? How do you build that up? How do you help it grow? How do you nurture it? And I think that that's, when you're a trade negotiator, that's what you're focused on. You're not focused on these other stories that are out there.
Google has been used as a threat of damaging these negotiations, but without any credibility, in my opinion.
Is this a political position which is going to affect TTIP negotiations?
Well, I would say from the European side it should not. This is in fact enforcement of European competition rules. This has nothing to do with politics. It's just application of the law.
Starbucks started with one coffee store in Seattle. Now it is a huge global company. Smaller coffee shops would often be fearful of Starbucks' arrival, but Starbucks' presence had two very positive effects. Firstly, it increased the overall coffee market value. Secondly, it raised standards. The same might be said of Google. Being dominant and perhaps even abusing that dominance may be no bad thing. Even if there is an abuse of market dominance, would Justinian have objected so long as the citizens received their grain at a fair price?